I'm Dr. Wolf, and today you're going to learn exactly which 12 foods burn visceral fat, because most people are eating every day without knowing that some foods are actively working against their belly. That changes now. Let's melt that fat down. Avocado. It's a fruit, but it acts more like a fat-burning tool. The monounsaturated fats in avocado, especially oleic acid, directly target visceral fat storage by reducing inflammation and improving insulin sensitivity. One study published in the Journal of Nutrition found that daily avocado consumption reduced deep abdominal fat in overweight adults. Beyond the fat itself, avocado is rich in fiber and potassium, which help control cortisol levels, and cortisol is one of the main drivers of visceral fat accumulation. Half an avocado a day is enough to start seeing a difference. Add it to eggs, salads, or eat it plain with a pinch of salt. It's one of the few foods that genuinely works on the root cause, not just the symptom. Green tea. This is one of the most studied foods when it comes to visceral fat specifically. The active compound, EGCG, increases fat oxidation and directly reduces fat stored around the organs. In clinical trials, people who consumed green tea extract consistently lost more abdominal fat than those who didn't, even without changing their diet. It also lowers fasting insulin, which is critical because high insulin tells your body to store fat, not burn it. 3 to 4 cups a day gives you enough EGCG to see a real metabolic effect. Brewed is better than bottled. Most bottled versions have very little actual EGCG. It's one of the easiest additions you can make. Salmon. The omega-3 fatty acids in salmon, specifically EPA and DHA, reduce visceral fat by lowering inflammation and improving how your cells respond to insulin. Visceral fat is inflammatory fat. The more inflammation in your body, the more your system defaults to storing fat around your organs. Salmon directly interrupts that cycle. 2 servings per week is enough to make a measurable difference in inflammatory markers. It also contains high-quality protein, which helps you stay full longer and maintain muscle, and more muscle means a faster metabolism. Bake it, pan-sear it, or keep canned salmon on hand. It's one of the most nutrient-dense foods for this specific goal. Most people think belly fat is just about calories. It's not. It's about hormones, inflammation, and what you eat. The next food hits all 3. Berries. Blueberries, raspberries, and strawberries are low in sugar and extremely high in polyphenol, antioxidants that directly reduce visceral fat. Research from the University of Michigan found that blueberries reduced abdominal fat in animal studies, and human research has confirmed similar anti-inflammatory effects. Berries also have a low glycemic index, meaning they don't spike insulin. That matters because every time insulin spikes, your body gets a signal to store fat, especially visceral fat. A cup of mixed berries daily is enough. Add them to yogurt, oatmeal, or eat them as a snack. They're sweet, accessible, and one of the few foods that tastes like a reward while actively working for you. Apple cider vinegar. The acetic acid in ACV activates an enzyme called AMPK, which increases fat burning and reduces fat storage, particularly visceral fat. A 12-week Japanese study found that participants who consumed 1 to 2 tablespoons of ACV daily reduced belly fat, waist circumference, and triglycerides significantly compared to a control group. ACV also slows gastric emptying, which means you feel full longer after meals and your blood sugar rises more gradually. That combination creates a hormonal environment that favors fat burning. Dilute 1 tablespoon in a glass of water before meals. It's not a miracle, but the evidence behind it is real and consistent. Olive oil. Extra virgin olive oil is rich in oleocanthal and oleic acid, both of which have strong anti-inflammatory properties. Since visceral fat is sustained by chronic inflammation, regularly consuming olive oil creates an internal environment that makes it harder for the body to accumulate and maintain fat around the organs. It also improves adiponectin levels, a hormone that directly promotes fat breakdown, especially in the abdominal area. 2 tablespoons per day is the amount used in most studies showing benefit. Use it raw on salads or as a finishing oil rather than high-heat cooking to preserve its active compounds. It's a daily habit that compounds over time. Here's something most people get wrong. They think fat makes you fat. But the right fat, like the kind in the next food, actively shrinks visceral fat. Eggs. One of the most complete foods for fighting visceral fat. Eggs provide high-quality protein that keeps insulin stable, supports muscle mass, and reduces hunger for hours. The yolk contains choline, a nutrient that directly supports liver function, and the liver plays a central role in visceral fat metabolism. A liver that processes fat efficiently stores less of it around the organs. Studies show that people who eat eggs for breakfast consume fewer calories throughout the day compared to those who eat high-carb breakfasts. 2 to 3 eggs in the morning is enough to stabilize your appetite and your blood sugar for the better part of the day. Simple, affordable, and effective. Greek yogurt. The combination of protein, probiotics, and calcium in Greek yogurt makes it particularly effective against visceral fat. Probiotics improve gut bacteria diversity, and recent research has directly linked gut microbiome health to visceral fat levels. People with healthier gut flora tend to store less abdominal fat. Calcium also plays a role. It signals fat cells to release stored fat and inhibits new fat storage. Greek yogurt has roughly 15 to 20 grams of protein per cup, which helps with satiety and muscle maintenance. Plain, full-fat versions are best. Avoid flavored options loaded with added sugar, which counteracts every benefit. 1 cup daily is enough to make a difference over time. Ginger. Ginger reduces visceral fat through 2 main pathways. It lowers cortisol and it reduces systemic inflammation. Cortisol is the stress hormone that directly drives fat storage around the abdomen. When cortisol stays elevated, from poor sleep, stress, or blood sugar swings, your body prioritizes visceral fat storage as a survival response. Ginger blocks some of that cortisol activity while simultaneously reducing inflammatory cytokines that encourage fat accumulation. It also improves digestion and reduces bloating, which matters for how you look and feel. Fresh ginger in hot water, added to smoothies, or used in cooking all work. Even a small daily amount, about a teaspoon, is enough to have a measurable anti-inflammatory effect. You'd be surprised how many people eat this next food every day without knowing it's one of the most researched against visceral fat specifically. Leafy greens. Spinach, kale, arugula, and similar greens are extremely low in calories and high in magnesium, a mineral that improves insulin sensitivity and directly reduces visceral fat accumulation. Most people eating a Western diet are deficient in magnesium, and that deficiency alone is enough to worsen insulin resistance, which promotes abdominal fat storage. Leafy greens also contain thylakoids, compounds that slow fat digestion and increase satiety hormones. They're high in fiber, which feeds beneficial gut bacteria. A large portion of greens daily, 2 or 3 cups, gives your body the micronutrients it needs to regulate fat storage more efficiently. The impact is real, even if it's not dramatic on the surface. Cinnamon. Cinnamon improves insulin sensitivity in a direct and measurable way, and since insulin dysregulation is one of the primary drivers of visceral fat, this matters. The active compound cinnamaldehyde mimics insulin and helps glucose enter cells more efficiently, reducing the amount of insulin your pancreas needs to produce. Lower insulin levels mean less fat storage signal in the body. Research shows that half a teaspoon to 1 teaspoon of cinnamon daily can reduce fasting blood sugar and improve lipid profiles. Sprinkle it on oatmeal, add it to coffee, or mix it into yogurt. It's one of the simplest interventions with a surprisingly strong evidence base for visceral fat specifically. Legumes. Beans, lentils, and chickpeas are high in resistant starch and soluble fiber, both of which reduce visceral fat through different but complementary mechanisms. Resistant starch ferments in the gut, feeding beneficial bacteria that produce short-chain fatty acids, which reduce inflammation and improve fat metabolism. Soluble fiber slows digestion, stabilizes blood sugar, and keeps insulin levels low throughout the day. Legumes also have a significant protein content, around 15 grams per cooked cup, which supports muscle and satiety. Studies consistently show that people who eat legumes regularly have lower visceral fat levels than those who don't, even when overall calorie intake is similar. 1 cup per day, in any form, is enough. If I had to choose only 3 foods from this list for anyone, they would be salmon, eggs, and green tea. They cover inflammation, insulin, cortisol, and metabolism, the 4 main drivers of visceral fat, and they're practical enough to include in any routine. Everything else is a bonus, valuable, but still a bonus. If you want all of this organized into a complete eating plan built around your specific goal, the ebook in the description has everything laid out for you. Subscribe for more videos like this.